Hello, entrepreneurs. Joe DeChara, CPA, coming to you live from downtown Flushing, New York, for another amazing episode of How to Win at Business. And if you're watching live, give me a hashtag live. If you're watching a replay, give me a hashtag replay, please, because that shows me who's watching, who's not watching. And if you have any questions, you can just post them in the chat box. And before we get started, I'd like to invite you to Mastermind with Joe DeChara. We have a great group. We meet every Saturday. It's free. We learn, we play Jeopardy, we network, and most of all, we support each other. And also, if anything I say resonates with you, please feel free to book a chat with me. Timewithjoe.com. It's really easy. I love talking to people about their business, and that's my story. I'm sticking with it. And tonight, what I want to talk about is the state of the broken IRS. And I'm going to give you some recent examples that proves basically that there's something seriously wrong that they're just not telling us. And now these are real cases that I've handled myself. I didn't read this in a newspaper. These are clients of mine. And this is what happened. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. I'm not going to give you the names of these people because that's confidential. But the most recent one was a client that had to pay $34,000 to the IRS. And she went online. She did the same thing she does all the time, because this is every year we have to pay. She goes online, she puts her social security number in, she pays it, it went through, she got the confirmation. A couple of weeks ago, she gets a letter that she owes the $34,000 plus interest and penalties. Now, normally I would write a letter with showing the confirmation, and it would be handled. But right now, it's not only the IRS that's broken, it's the post office. And if the letter gets there, it's going to sit there. I have no idea how long it's going to take for them to even open it. And that's the truth. So what happens is, if you don't answer the notice, you're in the system. You're in what they call the ACH, the collection system. Now, the IRS just happens to be the largest collection agency in the world. You're not running from them. So the way the process works is you get a letter. Okay, you got 30 days to respond. Then you get another letter, another 30 days. And then you get what they call a notice of intent to levy. And what happens with that is that means they're going to take it from your bank account. And that's not good. So there's only two solutions, really. One is time consuming, and because it's my time and I have to get a power of attorney, then I got to call them, and you're probably talking about 3 or 4 hours worth of my time. And even though I like to help my clients, I love to help them, there's so many problems like this, it would just take up too much of my time, and I would have to charge them for something that's out of their control. So the alternative is, now every IRS notice comes with a phone number. It's usually in the top right-hand corner. And what my clients have been doing under my advice is they call the number. You usually don't get through. Now, there's a trick to this. You got to call them. The best time to call them is on a Wednesday morning at about 7:57, 7:58. And the reason for that is Wednesdays are the least amount of calls. Now, I get this from a trusted source, somebody that worked in that department at the IRS for over 25 years. And forget about calling Mondays, forget about calling Fridays, because those are the worst days, especially Monday. You're just not going to get through. So Wednesday morning is the least amount of traffic. So when you call right before they open, you get into the key. There's a key. They only have so many operators. So now you might be on hold for an hour or two, but once you get through to a person, they can usually give you some information. When I say usually, it's not a guarantee, because one of the things that they're doing is they're hiring, I believe they're hiring part-time people that are working from home, and they don't have the same like clearance that regular employees have. Now, I'm just guessing about that because somebody else that worked at the IRS told me that that's what they're doing. I don't verify that, but the truth is that a lot of these people are working from home. And based on the feedback that I'm getting from my clients that are calling them, I think it's true. I think that a lot of times there's not really much they can do other than to give you basic information. So my client gets through. I think it took her over 3 hours, but she got a person. And now this is what they told her that happened. Now just think about this. She paid the taxes on April 1st. What they told her was it didn't get processed until June 1st. Now, this is all computerized. I mean, once it goes through, she gets a confirmation, that should be going into the system. So what I believe is that they're doing everything manually. That's what the delay is. There's no possible way that that payment would have posted 2 months later. It's just not, it's not feasible. It's never worked like that before. So that means there's something wrong with their computer systems. It's not just COVID. And there is a possibility that they got hacked. That's what I believe happened, because there's too many things like that happening. Now, the reason why she got the notice wasn't because it posted 2 months later, even though that may have triggered a notice. So think about this. People are doing what they're supposed to do. The IRS isn't processing the information, and then they send you a letter saying you owe money. And if you don't answer the letter, like I said, eventually goes to an intent to levy. Now, what they told her makes no sense at all. They told her that the reason she got the notice was because she used her Social Security number, and she's not listed first on the tax return. That's hogwash, because she's done it the same way since I've been her accountant for like 10 years. That just doesn't make sense. So the computer program should be able to see her Social Security number and tie it to her tax return. So they saw the $34,000 payment. I don't know where they applied it to, but it wasn't applied to her tax return. So that's one story that just recently happened. Luckily, she was able to get them to fix it. So it's pretty scary when you get a letter from the IRS and you owe that kind of money. Now, this is on another subject that has to do with how out of control they are. I have a client that came to me that had this bizarre set of circumstances with a tax audit. Now, what happened was she had a trucking company back in 2017, and they went out of business. They actually lost about $30,000. They had revenue of $500,000 and expenses of $530,000, including $250,000 in payroll, $80,000 insurance, $60,000 in repairs and maintenance, all backed up with checks and receipts. Okay, so she gets audited. She answers the audit. Okay, now this is 2019, right before COVID. Okay, and she responds to the auditor. They talk on the phone. He tells her what she needs. She faxes him everything, and it was a lot of stuff. All of the insurance records, the bank statements, and his question, the reason why she got audited was because her accountant, she had a bad accountant. And the way they did her return, it was strange. I would have been surprised if she didn't get audited. So she gets audited. They say, okay, we're going to take care of this. She gets her stimulus check, and she gets her 2019 tax refund. I might be getting the dates wrong, but this is what happened. She got her stimulus check, she got her refund. So she figured it was all taken care of. Well, months later, she gets a bill from the IRS for $200,000 in taxes and a $50,000 penalty for filing a frivolous tax return. And the auditor's explanation on all of the expenses was that there was no business purpose. She didn't prove that these expenses were for business. This was a pretty clear-cut case because it just doesn't make any sense. Why would somebody spend $250,000 on payroll, all that money on insurance, if it wasn't for a business? And she had all of the documentation. Long story short, by the time I got the case, we were about a month away from the statute where she would have not even had a chance to appeal in tax court, because that's how long it had gone. There were letters in between that never got to her. Okay. And I got some stories about that. So all this confusion, she gets this letter. She went through a year or a long time before, she got in touch with me. So now we're under the gun because there's a time limit. I put a letter together, and this is what I told him. I said, listen, we will send you all of the documentation again, but it's going to come in boxes because that's how much there is. This stuff was already faxed to you. If you don't want to do that, then this is what we're going to do. I'm going to file a petition with the tax court, and somebody's going to have egg on their face. Now, that auditor, I think there was something wrong with him because he wasn't on the case anymore. Okay, I think he was an auditor that was like off the wall, and just because it makes no sense. Long story short, if it goes to tax court, a judge is going to look at them and probably want to put them in jail for what they did, because it's really criminal. You don't bully taxpayers like that. And that's what they did to this poor woman. She went out of business and got a clerical job. And then she's looking at a $250,000 tax bill. And that doesn't even include the state taxes, which would have been another $100,000. So this was like, so long story short, we get down to about a week. And I get in touch with them and I said, this is what we want to do. I want you to wipe out the whole audit. I want you to allow all of the expenses, or I'm going to file a petition with the tax court. Now, this was on a Thursday, and I only had till Tuesday to do this. I really don't want to file a petition with the tax court. But what happens when you do that, you don't go to tax court, it goes to another appeal, because they don't want to waste a judge's time. So I threatened to file a petition, but on Friday of that week, we talk again, and they said, the whole audit's it's done. She doesn't owe any taxes. And in fact, we're going to send her an apology letter. Now, I have the apology letter. I was astounded because I have never in 40 years seen the IRS send an apology letter. Now, I had another audit with, it wasn't as bad, but it was a woman that produced a movie. And, movies, you have business expenses and you have income. And in the beginning, you have a lot more expenses than income. So one of the expenses was the opening, the premiere. And you have to have a big party. And they got invitations. They had all the information to show that it was for the event and that it was for business. Well, the IRS agent disallowed most of her expenses, almost all of them. I think they allowed the accounting fees and a couple of other things, but this really left them in a hole because that event was the bulk of the expenses. So that one's still up in the air, but I took the same approach and I said, listen, in Internal Revenue Code 162, which tells you what you're allowed to deduct, this is all legitimate. You can't tell us it wasn't for a business purpose because we've documented, we have proven, according to section 162, we have the receipts, we have the invitations, we can even get testimony from the attendees. Well, they haven't responded yet, but I think it's going to wind up in our favor. The thing is, that was for 2018. Now, when you get audited, they look at the next year, and we had the same situation. There were some other things involved with crowdfunding and how it was reported. You know, when you do crowdfunding, that's reported as income. So what triggered the audit was they did a crowdfund, and if you didn't get what you aimed for, you don't get anything. Now they were going for 40 grand and they only raised 10. So they came up with the idea that they would put the 30 in, they would meet the 40,000, and once they got the money, they would just pay off their credit card. I mean, I don't know if that it was even legal. I mean, I guess you got to look at the terms of service. But what the IRS did was they disallowed the payment because really the payment should have come off the income. And I think the way the accountant reported it got her audited. But that was all explained to them. So not only did they disallow the premier, they disallowed money that they put into. It's almost like they were paying taxes on the money they put in from their credit card. So the bad news is that audits are going to go up. They're hiring another 8. They're going to double their workforce with the whole intention of raising over $7 billion over the next 10 years. Or no, I'm sorry, $7 trillion. $7 trillion, which is going to help pay for the pandemic. What a surprise. Instead of being, helping businesses, instead of, being what they're supposed to be, which is to protect taxpayers, what they're doing is they're going to be hurting a lot more people, just like the 2 people that I just mentioned. Now, as far as the mail goes, a lot of people didn't get their refunds. And it's been millions still have not gotten their refunds. And a lot of time, most of the time when you go on the IRS website where it says, where's my refund, it'll come up with, oh, we don't have any information, or it's being processed. Okay. So one of my college buddies, I've been doing his tax return for 40 years, I think, since we got out of college. And he's lived in the same place for like 20 years. Everything goes to that address. So we do his daughter's tax return, and she's due, I don't know, like $1,200. And she could use the money. And he calls me and said, what happened to my refund? So I said, well, you got to call. The only way to do it, because when he went on the site, what they said was that it was processed and the refund check was mailed, but he never got it. She never got it. He calls up the IRS. It turns out that the check was undeliverable. We had the right address. Why they said it was undeliverable is beyond me. I don't know if it was on the IRS's side or the post office. So we got if you got to send money, you do not want to send a check. Okay. My nephew, I did his tax return in February. He was due $10,000 because he got the earned income credit. He just now, he's been going on the website almost every day, and finally they said that his refund check is going to be direct deposited on the 21st. Now, okay, we had COVID, but the system is computerized. Now, what the IRS is doing is they are flagging anybody that claims a credit, any kind of credit. So if you did your tax return and you claimed an education credit, a child especially the earned income credit, most credits, they're going to take you and put you at the end of the line. Same thing with amended returns. I have a client where we amended 3 years worth of tax returns, and you can't electronically file an amended tax return. So they had to be mailed in. I told her, I said, it might take 6 months to a year for you to get those refunds because they're just not processing them. They're taking the amended returns. Now think about this. Hopefully they get there. The paper returns go into a pile and somebody has to open them. That's the problem with sending correspondence. When you answer a letter, they're just not even opening them. They're not opening them. And the result of that is the funny thing is the collection part of the system hasn't broken down. So if you owe them money, they're going to try to get it from you. So there's only a couple of things you can do. You can hire a tax professional, give them a power of attorney, and let him or her call the IRS directly. Because a professional tax preparer, now what I'm talking about is an enrolled agent, a CPA, or a tax attorney. Okay, we get like a special hotline for practitioners. And you have to have a legitimate reason. They're not going to deal with the general public. The other thing that you can do is what I've told my clients, which is you're going to have to call, and you're going to have to be tenacious, and you're going to have to call every day maybe, and you're going to have to call and put them on hold, and hopefully you get somebody that's going to know what they're talking about. Because unfortunately, there are a lot of people working there that don't know what they're talking about because they don't have access to the right information. I'll give you one last example. Last year, we got a client that he had a big tax problem, which he claimed he had no idea. I think, yeah, there might have been whatever involved, but he wasn't getting the mail. Somebody else was getting it. And it turned out now he's getting all of these levy notices. And we don't know what it's for. I get a power of attorney. I call them for Form 1120S because he told me that they were Forms 1120S. Now, I never got the forms. Okay, never got the tax returns from him. He was pretty much uncooperative. He was, hit or miss. But I get the power of attorney. I call the IRS, and they won't talk to me because they say it's not an s-corp. I got the wrong form number in there. Now, there's only 2 forms that a corporation can have. Because this was definitely a corporation. I went online, I verified it. He had a tax ID number. The corporation was actually still in good standing. So now I get a power of attorney for the only other form that there is, which is an 1120. I call up again and they say, that's not the right form number. He's not a regular corporation. So if you understand what this stuff, it just doesn't make any sense. Now, he never followed through with me. I don't know what happened, but if there's only 2 choices and you pick both of them and the IRS says that neither one is right, you got to scratch your head. So there is something seriously wrong. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. Hopefully you are not one of those people experiencing this stuff. If you are and you need some help, I would be glad to take a call from you. Just go to this place, Time with Joe. And if you have any questions, if you want to talk to me, I see there is a Facebook user here. My dad never got his refund. So what you need to do is, like I said, John, I don't see I see John. I think you said you're going to make an appointment with me. That's great. So what you have to do is, if your father didn't get his refund, you got to call the IRS. You got to have all the information. You actually have to have your father there with you, because he's got to authorize them to talk to you. And that's it. So, hey, John, I don't know you yet. I hope I get to meet you. But, it's pretty scary out there. It's pretty scary, and it's going to get worse. So, just be aware of, how the system is working, how it's broken. It was broken before COVID, and now it's even worse. And like I said, it's not going to get better. They're going to be hiring over 87,000 new IRS employees. It is terrifying, John. It's pretty tough on me, because all of my clients are calling me saying, where's my refund? Or we get a tax notice out of the blue, like I said with my client with the 34,000 that she didn't owe. Now, any accountant is going through the same thing, and I can't charge my clients for that time. It's not their fault, but it does eat into my time, and it hurts my business. I don't know what the solution is on that. Probably our rates are all going to have to go up, because there's just no way around it. When you have a small CPA practice, or even a large CPA practice, it's tough. So, and we deal mostly with businesses. So a lot of the people that we have, they're having problems with their business tax returns. So, like I said, that's my story. I'm sticking with it. I will be back again tomorrow, hopefully with some more happy information about what's going on in the business world. Thank you, and good night.